I hate to tell you, but that company that you work for doesn't need to validate you. They validate you by paying you. Welcome to today's video. My name is JC. Thank you for being here today. The big man upstairs gave us a date today to get up. So we are going to give it a go, and we are going to put our best foot forward in order to make the most out of today, because we are already blessed at the fact that we just got to wake up today. So anyways, with that being said, what do I want to talk about today? Well, this one again probably proves that a lot of these videos are, really of us talking about live experiences that are happening. So we put out a video, I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, that has done very, very well and performed well. Probably one of our best performing videos, where we talked about the fact that I had interviewed or talked to a young man that I had met in purchasing something for my son. And I'm obviously not a millennial anymore, so I would call him a zillennial, I think would be the right verbiage, maybe a zillennial. Right out of high school, 19 years old, trying to do some YouTube stuff and start to learn, videography and that whole deal. Anyways, we're gonna post a link to that video somewhere up here or maybe down in the description, so you can go ahead and check that video out, because that video has done very, very well for us. But anyways, what is the topic of conversation? We posted the video and we got a few comments on the video. Not tons, but we got a few comments. Anyways, one of the comments on the video was somebody jumping on and saying, hey, companies don't care about you. Something to that effect. Basically, companies don't give a poop about you. That's essentially what the comment. And yeah, I jumped on and I did go ahead and reply to the comment, and the reply is there if you watch the video. I'll preface this by saying this: does a company really care about you or not, as that commenter posted in the comment section? Well, I got a couple thoughts there that I wanted to share with you. And again, no way, shape, or form do you have to agree with me. You may agree with me, you may disagree with me. Either way, I'm just going to give you my 2 cents on that particular comment and whether or not a company cares about you. Now, before I get into that conversation, let me preface this by saying this: I am always open to and very much enjoy open conversation, right? Like, that is what keeps our country great, is the ability to have different opinions, and whether we agree or disagree or agree to disagree, the fact that you have the right to think what you want to think, without essentially being stoned to death or being hung out in a public street, is what makes this country great. So with that being said, I always welcome comments, even if I agree with you. If I agree with you, or if you give me a different perspective, I will analyze that perspective. And if that perspective has merit to me and it's logical to me and it makes perfect sense, I have no problem, and I'm very comfortable in my skin saying, hey, you know what? That makes perfect sense. I never really looked at it that way. And now that you said it that way, and now that I've really thought about it, I agree with that kind of stance. So point taken. I'm very comfortable saying that. I'm also comfortable saying, hey, you said it, I thought about it, I analyzed it, I went ahead and kind of digested the information, and although I respect your position, I disagree with what you said. I still don't feel that way after I've digested the information, based on my experiences or based on how I feel about it, or what have you. And I'm okay with that. I am okay to agree to disagree. I'm not trying to change your mind, but I'm also not going to banter to somebody and agree with somebody only to look good or to avoid conversation. I'm not a passive aggressive guy like that, so just not going to do that. Great. Back to the comment. Companies don't care about you. Well, I'm a business owner. I own 7 companies. So we got plenty of employees, over 50, I would say, between our companies. So we have plenty of employees. Not thousands, but 50 is not a little, right? 50 is a decent amount. Great. As an owner, I'm going to give you my thought process about how we manage that, where kind of within our companies, and my experience with dealing with hundreds and thousands of business owners that own all sorts of companies. By the way, I have buddies that own one-man shows that do well. I have buddies that own companies that have over thousands of employees and are multi-million billionaires, right? In the B's. So everything in between, I talk to those people all the time and have direct access to them and pick their brain about my businesses and some of the things that I've done and what I can do better and where I can be better and all of those goody things. Great. So does a company actually care about you? Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? Believe it or not, most companies, for the most part, I would say definitely care for you. In the sense of, again, to be clear, it doesn't make them bad people, it doesn't make them bad human. Like if you expect the company to validate you and let's just say care about you and love you, let's say like your husband or your wife or your kids or your grandkids, that is probably not the case. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, and I'm not saying some companies don't say that. What I am saying is you shouldn't need that kind of validation from a business, from somebody that you work for, right? That validation, if you do need it, really should come from your spouse or your husband or your wife or your kids or your grandkids or your family. Really, that's who you should validate that from, or from the man upstairs if you need that validation. Obviously, if you're in one with him, then really at that point you should be completely grounded, and every day you should feel loved because he loves you and he died for you, so he should love you that way no matter what. So, but if you need that validation, it probably shouldn't come from a business. So it's kind of a catch-22, right? Do you really need that validation from the business, and do they really love you that way? Well, to be honest with you, probably not, but they're not supposed to, right? Like, I don't believe a company should love you in that way or validate you in that way, right? Anytime you have an exchange, and again, this might be an unpopular opinion, right? So it'd be amazing if you're watching this video and you have a thought on what I'm gonna say, whether it's for what I'm gonna say or against what I'm gonna say, I 100% welcome and value your thoughts and opinions. Comment on the video below. I will literally answer every single comment on this video, both good and bad, right? So I am willing to listen to both sides of the aisle. They're not supposed to validate you that, right? Because anytime you have a partnership where there is an exchange, right, happening that way, in at least in the professional side, I'm not talking about personal marriage, right? There's an exchange there too, but I'm talking in business. In other words, you're gonna come work for company A, and company A is not expecting you to come do it for free, right? So let's say they've hired you to, I don't know, let's say they've hired you to manage a warehouse. I don't believe company A is hiring you to come manage a warehouse at $0, right? In other words, hey, come work for me and I need you to do all of these tasks and I need you to be responsible for all of these things and I'm gonna pay you nothing, right? That is not an exchange of things, right? Some would call that slavery, I guess, if you want to say that. Again, there used to be things called internships. We don't do those here in California. I haven't had an intern ever in California. I stopped doing internships of any kind. We do have some internship opportunities here, but they are paid internships. We pay our intern. Anytime we've ever hired a college intern of any kind to bring them in and see if they're any good or what they want to launch a career in video or digital marketing, we pay that intern. So we do not have any unpaid internships, right? So, but again, anytime somebody tells you to come handle these things, work for these things, and they pay you nothing, okay? Then there's not an exchange of things, right? They are not paying you anything. You are taking your time, your energy to go work for that company, and they're giving you nothing in return other than just experience. And unfortunately, obviously, that can be argued if you're not getting paid. That's not what we're talking about here, right? What we're talking about here about whether a company loves you or not is they are asking you to come to work to do X, Y, Z, to be responsible for these things, to do these tasks every day. These are the expectations that they are required for you to come work here. And in exchange for those things that they are telling you are part of your daily duties, they are paying you some sort of salary or hourly wage. The minute that happens, there is an exchange of things, right? You are exchanging your time, your skill, whatever knowledge you have, your how-to, or plain and simple, your time and willingness to want to learn. And in return, they are then providing you monetary economics, AKA you're getting paid, you're getting a paycheck, right? And this isn't about whether you're getting underpaid or overpaid. That's a whole topic of another conversation. What I'm talking about is you are providing this, they are paying you, there is an exchange there. The minute that happens, I hate to tell you, but that company that you work for doesn't need to validate you. They validate you by paying you. Now, again, if we want to talk about some employees are terrible, some employers are terrible, or maybe terrible working conditions, or, you know, they mother F-bomb you all the time or treat you terribly, sure, we can talk about that. But that is not what this conversation is about, right? What this conversation is about is, hey, does that company care about you and need to validate you? They don't need to validate, right? That's not their job. Their job is to make sure that your paycheck gets paid when it's supposed to get paid, at the rate they told you they were gonna pay you, hopefully give you some good working conditions. Hopefully they treat you right. Hopefully they're a good company to work for. Hopefully the cause is good for you and it aligns with your values and your character and who you want to be as a person. Hopefully all of those things are happening, but you are getting something in return. You are not coming in for nothing or zero, right? So the reality is that the minute that happens, validation goes out the window and it's no longer needed. That is not where you should seek validation, right? The validation should come from your home. The validation should come from your faith. The validation should come from your spouse. The validation should come from your kids, your grandkids, your sisters, your brothers, and all of the other things that you have in that inner circle that you have of family. If you need validation, it should come from maybe those things. It shouldn't come specifically from your employer, right? And you know, me and my producer Rich were also talking about the fact that, you know, when that happens, when you have an exchange of things like that, right? When you come in and you get paid to do, you know, the thing, right? And you're getting a paycheck, like the minute that happens, right? You are then also acquiring skill set, right? You are putting yourself in a position to be better. You are putting yourself in a position to get more experience. You are putting yourself in a position to start to accumulate true, what we would call true proof, right? Proof that you can actually do the thing that they hired you to do, and hopefully you're good at it. And guess what happens with that? When you start acquiring proof, right? And you start acquiring knowledge and experience, you inevitably put yourself in a situation to be more valuable. And let's just say you worked for a company and you said, hey, they don't, quote unquote, they don't care about me, right? Or I don't like working here because they mother F-bomb me, or they're mean, or they're inconsiderate, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, you acquired skill sets, you acquired experience and knowledge, and you acquired proof. And in the process of you acquiring every one of those things, you got paid. So it's not like you did it for free. So you can now take those things that you learned. Now that you are more valuable, now you have positioned yourself in a way where you can go somewhere else where you do feel more appreciated, maybe not validated, but appreciated. And you're probably going to be in a position to actually make more money and get paid better, because now you walk in the door not completely blank. You walk in the door with, again, all of those things that I just talked about, mainly the proof, because that's really what we pay for. We pay for the proof, right? You walk into the door with more proof, which then makes you more valuable. So now you are probably going to get paid better and be in a better position. So great. To answer the question quite simply, do companies not care about you? Not really a solid answer. They care about you, but maybe not in the way that you possibly need, right? Maybe not in the way that you need. Do they care about you as a person? Yeah, I've never met a business owner, honestly, that was utterly terrible to their employees. I've never met a business person that hated their employees or didn't appreciate their employees or anything like that. You talk to any business owner that is successful, guys, part of being a successful business owner, I'm gonna be honest with you, is being a good business owner. And being a good business owner literally means being a high character value type person, right? Like, you tend to treat your employees a certain way. You tend to treat the people that work for you a certain way. You tend to have respect for them. You tend to appreciate them. You tend to give them a voice. Like, you tend to do those things anyways if you tend to have employees. If you've ever grown to that, almost every business owner I've ever met has those values in them already. So if what we're talking about and the definition of caring for someone is those things, then yeah, I'd say they care about you. If the definition of they don't care about you is the fact that, hey, they don't validate me, they don't love me that way, then I would probably say then maybe the statement is true. Either way, I would love your take on this. If you feel any differently from what I said, do me a favor, put a comment down below. Again, I am open to discussing both sides of the aisle. If you agree with me, great, give me a thumbs up or put a comment below and let me know that, hey, what I said resonated. If you disagree with me, I welcome the disagreement. Put the comment down below. Let me know what your take is, why you disagree, and I'll be happy to jump in the comment section and have a conversation about it. Anyways, with that being said, thought this video was important out of that other video. And again, we will post a video of that particular video somewhere in the comment section below. With that being said, we appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. And just like we do every single time, always remember, God is your guide. He is not your ride. Make sure you are willing to take the chance and the opportunities that He is going to put in front of you by doing the things that you need to do today to be the best version of yourself, not only today, tomorrow, but for the rest of your life. Anyways, with that being said, I appreciate your time. Peace.